The starting point of the Kiosk factory is the catalog creation. The catalog has a file name, an identifier, a description, which is optional, possibly a template, a validity, start and end date, and then it is based on a selection that will be performed by the query supper, either on the database or on the accept tool. Content are searched based on the data inputted in the form, and what retrieved is presented in terms of list. You can browse the content associated to a specific item and decide whether to include it or not into the catalog. In case all content are useful, it's possible to select all from a single page for addition. Adding to the catalog inserts all selected content into the catalog itself. This operation can be repeated for all objects presented onto the page. Once this is done, it is necessary to update contents in order to add orders, grants. To add order means to possibly locate the content in terms of top 10 or in terms of best pick or in terms of offers. Once this operation is done, it's possible to select which are the grants that are going to be assigned for each of the content. The list is quite extensive. It could be combined with a validity date, number of users, kind of payment per use, and amount per use. Even a bank account could be specified. All information are then reported into the catalog, and will be constituting the most important part of the catalog itself. In terms of availability and validity of catalog, this is independent from the validity of the objects reported into the catalog. Of course, grants can also be removed. Once this operation is concluded, it's possible to send the catalog to the kiosks or to a specific kiosk. What will be needed is to select a specific catalog, select the destination, that could be either a domain or the whole set of kiosks, and then distribute. Once this operation is concluded, the operation on the Kiosk factory are ended. Switching to the kiosk in itself, it's necessary to distinguish that there are two kinds of users. One could be the administrator, the other one could be a generic user. The administrator will perform administrative operations onto the kiosk. For that, as a specific area into the administration page, for example, I can load a catalog, like the catalog I have previously prepared, and I can associate to it a configuration file for the loading operation. Once the catalog has been loaded, if I return to the home page, I can see what are the items that will be available for my end users. When a user wants to access the catalog, the first thing would be to register. Once the user is in the registration phase, he will be asked to insert a set of information. Some are mandatory, some are complementary and could be even filled up later on. The registration process is performed, and at this point the registered user can access the catalog, can update specific information from the profile, and complement therefore what will be available even at purchasing time or in other kind of specific environment of the operation. It can download the client in case the client has not yet been downloaded, and the client will enable the user to access to protected object. Information about the download are provided onto the page. In the generic page of the catalog, what is usually performed is access to the metadata, through which you can determine whether the content is relevant or not for you, preview of the content itself, which will launch the player but in preview mode, and once you have made up your mind, it will be possible to acquire content, specifying what has to be acquired. Adding to the chart does not necessarily mean that you have to buy. You can even do it later. You can modify or clear the list. But when you decide to buy, you will be asked to provide specific data for the payment. And once the specific data for the payment have been confirmed, the process will lead to acquisition of the content that can be now browsed through the acquired content and viewed using the viewer.